The movie opens in Italy during the summer of 1983 when a young 17-year-old boy named Elio hears his father's graduate student arriving at their house. He watches from the window as the 24-year-old Oliver gets out of his car and confidently greets both of his parents. Elio goes downstairs to greet Oliver and is told by his mother to show him to his room. Once Oliver greets everyone and is then taken upstairs by Elio, who tells him that he will be staying in his old room. Elio starts arranging Oliver's luggage and tells him that they will be sharing a bathroom. However, when he notices Oliver has fallen asleep, he quietly leaves the room. Later that night, Elio hears a bell ring and realizes that it is dinner time. He tries waking Oliver up, but he refuses to move. Finally, he drops a book to the ground, successfully waking him up. But Oliver tells Elio that he is not in the mood for dinner before going back to sleep. The next morning, a refreshed Oliver joins Elio and his family for dinner. There he learns that his professor's wife owns an apricot orchard and expresses his love for the fruit. Once breakfast is over, Elio offers to take him exploring around town. The two of them ride their bikes into town while Elio shows Oliver where everything is. Not long after they settle down, Oliver thanks Elio for showing him around and then leaves. When Oliver returns home that afternoon, Elio's father begins telling him about the origin of several words, including apricot. He claims that the word apricot was derived from the Arabic language. To everyone's surprise, Oliver disagrees with the professor and tells him that the word apricot was adopted by the Arabs, but derived from another language. This impresses the professor since he was testing Oliver on his knowledge. The next day, Oliver takes Elio to a bar with him where he plays poker with elderly men. Impressed, Elio asks him how he knows them, but Oliver chooses to remain mysterious and doesn't answer his question. One day, Oliver joins Elio and his friends for volleyball. While everyone is playing, Elio stays in the corner, reading a book. When Oliver finally notices him, he approaches him and tells him that he is too tense and needs to relax. As he says this, Oliver starts massaging his shoulders, which although Elio finds strange, he brushes it off. He then goes back home to wash up and prepare for dinner. By the time he comes out, he finds that everyone is waiting for him, but Oliver is missing from the table. Elio tells his family that he thinks Oliver is arrogant, but his father assures him that Oliver is only shy and that the two of them will grow to like each other. Once dinner is over, all of the adults gather inside the house for a drink. Elio's father asks him to play the piano for them, but he replies by saying that he does not want to. Seeing their son's broody mood, Elio's mother tells him that he is ruining everyone's night. Eventually, he agrees to play the piano. In the morning, while Oliver is out, Elio remains confused about his touch and finds himself reaching for his crotch. All of a sudden, Oliver barges into his room, causing him to quickly pull his hand out of his pants. Oliver suggests that the two of them should go out swimming, away from the others. Sometime later, Elio finds himself in the pool with Oliver, but tries to avoid looking at him. When Oliver asks him what he is thinking about, he refuses to open up. Oliver gives up trying to get Elio to open up and joins his mother in picking apricots. Over the next few days, the two of them spend time together as Elio practices his music. One morning, Oliver asks Elio to play music for him. When Elio starts playing, Oliver realizes that Elio has been mixing up the styles according to different composers. Seeing Oliver show interest in his music, Elio realizes that the graduate student does not hate him as he had suspected. Later, the two of them attend a party where Elio notices Oliver dancing with his friend Chiara before kissing her. Jealous, he joins Oliver on the dance floor and starts flirting with another girl named Marzia. He then sneaks out of the party with her and jumps into the stream with her as they share a night swim. The next morning, Elio tells Oliver and his father that he almost slept with Marzia. Oliver encourages Elio to try again with her. At the breakfast table, Oliver's father tells the two of them that he is heading to the river to investigate his new project. He then asks them to join him and they agree. Before they leave, Elio notices Chiara arriving at their house. She asks him where Oliver is and he directs her to him, despite feeling jealous of her. When Oliver comes out of the house with Chiara, Elio starts telling him that she is a beautiful woman and that he is lucky to have her attention. This does not sit well with Oliver, and he tells Elio to stay out of his business. Once they reach the river, Elio apologizes to Oliver and the two of them agree to start over again. Elio's father shows them the broken arm of a statue and begins telling them the story behind it. They soon join him in the boat where they discover the sunken statue. As night falls, Elio's father suggests that they should go for a night swim. Later that night when they return home, Elio rushes out of the car, claiming that he has to go somewhere and rides off to see Marzia. When Elio wakes up the next morning, he makes his way to Oliver's room, but as soon as he hears his housekeeper heading upstairs, he rushes back to his room. Once she leaves, he enters Oliver's room again and starts sniffing his clothes. Elio doesn't see Oliver the entire day, and by the end of it, he lies down next to his parents as his mother reads them a German love story. He wonders if the story wouldn't have had a tragic ending if one of them had spoken up about their feelings. Hearing this, his mother encourages him to talk about the things that matter, no matter what. Taking his mother's advice, he goes into town with Oliver. When Oliver compliments Elio on his extensive knowledge, he replies that he cannot seem to talk about things that matter. Confused, Oliver asks him what he means, but Elio only tells him that he already knows. At this point, Oliver puts 2 and 2 together, but claims that they cannot talk about such things. Elio remains quiet, but takes Oliver around town. Soon, the two of them arrive at a secluded spot where Elio spends most of his time. They play around in the water and later lie down under a tree. This is when Oliver kisses Elio, but stops himself from continuing. However, this does not sit well with Elio as he pushes Oliver down and kisses him again. Eventually, Oliver stops him and tells him that they cannot act like this again before leaving. The next day, Elio and Oliver join his family for lunch where when things start getting loud, his nose starts bleeding. Elio rushes inside his house and tries to stop the bleeding as Oliver follows after him. Sometime later, Chiara and Marzia show up at the house and manage to convince Elio to join them for a swim. Although hesitant, he agrees to go out with them. When he returns home, his mother asks him to sit with her. To his surprise, she figures out that he likes Oliver and convinces him that Oliver likes him as well. Elio spends the next few hours thinking about his own feelings. That night, when he hears Oliver coming back home, he pretends to sleep while Oliver uses the bathroom. Still unsure about his feelings, Elio calls Marzia in the morning and meets up with her. Things begin escalating after she confesses that she is scared of him hurting her feelings, and they end up spending the night together. Once he gets home, Elio writes a note for Oliver, telling him that he can't handle Oliver avoiding him. When he wakes up in the morning, he is surprised to see that Oliver has responded to his note by telling him to meet him at midnight. That day during lunch, Elio's mother tells him that 2 of their gay family friends are coming over for dinner. He then invites Marzia over and makes out with her until their family friends arrive. He spends the entire day with them, and even plays the piano for everyone until eventually, it is midnight. Elio returns to his room and finds Oliver waiting for him on the balcony. The two of them start by slowly touching their fingers, but end up kissing. Oliver notes that Elio is not freaking out. He continues making out with him until eventually, they sleep together. In the middle of the night, Oliver tells Elio to call out his name, and he will call out Elio's in return. He then continues kissing Elio until early the next morning. Once they wake up, Elio suggests that they should go for a swim. Oliver realizes that Elio is getting attached to him and asks him if he will hold their night against him. Elio assures him that he wants and then goes to join his parents for breakfast. Once Oliver is done eating, he tells the professor that he is going into town to get a few pages printed out for them. Although he goes out alone, Elio ends up following after him. Oliver notices him arriving at the post office sometime later and confronts him. Elio takes this the wrong way and assumes that Oliver does not want him around. However, before he can leave, Oliver drags him to an alley and tells him that he does not regret their night and still wants to spend time with him. Feeling relieved, Elio returns home and picks a peach off his mother's tree. He then takes it to his room where he uses it to masturbate until he falls asleep. While he is sleeping, Oliver slips into his room and starts kissing him. When he realizes what Elio has done, he even takes a bite out of the peach to tease him. Feeling overwhelmed, Elio starts crying, but Oliver manages to calm him down, and once again, the two boys end up spending the night together. Elio comments that they wasted so much time trying to avoid each other, and asks Oliver why he did not drop hints earlier. Hearing this, Oliver reveals that his touching Elio at the volleyball game was a hint. The next morning, Elio wakes up to find Oliver's shirt laid out next to him along with a note with his name. When he reads the note, he realizes that this is Oliver calling out for him. He gets dressed and rushes to find him, but he runs into Marzia, who had arrived at his house to confront him. She asks him why he has been ignoring her, but Elio does not have a solid answer for her. Elio begins making excuses, and Marzia realizes that what she had with Elio was not serious and leaves. Meanwhile, Elio's father tells his mother that Oliver will be leaving for Bergamo for work, after which he will fly home. As soon as Elio's mother hears about this, she suggests that Elio should accompany Oliver since they share a special bond. His father agrees, and Elio accompanies Oliver to Bergamo, where the two of them share several intimate nights. One night, Oliver hears music playing in the streets and joins a few strangers who are playing it. He begins dancing until Elio drags him into another alley and kisses him. Once again, they spend the night together. Not long after that, it is time for Oliver to leave, and Elio pushes himself to see Oliver leave forever. He accompanies Oliver to the train station where they share one last hug before Oliver gets on the train and leaves. Once the train is out of his sight, Elio breaks down crying and calls his mother to pick him up. She drives him back to town without asking any questions, but while she is inside a shop, Marcia confronts him and tells him that she is not mad at him. To his surprise, she even proposes that they should remain friends for the rest of their lives. When Elio gets home, his father reveals that he fell in love with someone when he was younger, but could never bring himself to confess his feelings. Which is why he was glad that Elio and Oliver were able to confess their feelings. He even tells Elio to hold on to all of his emotions because he is going to miss the feeling. As days go by, winter soon arrives. On the night of Hanukkah, Elio hears the landline ringing and goes to answer it, only to find that Oliver has called. As they are catching up, Oliver reveals that he is getting married to a girl he was in a relationship with for the past 3 years. This leaves Elio shocked, and all he can do is congratulate him. At the end of the movie, as Oliver hangs up and his family prepares for the Hanukkah dinner, Elio cries and reminisces about his days with Oliver, who was also his first love.